Greetings, Guzzlers. Tonight we're back off to India. Specifically, we're in Goa. Okay, Goa, western coast, edge of the I can't speak properly now. Arabian Sea. Okay, typically hot climate, but also one that has some quite traditional dishes. And we're going to make one of them today because a true Goan dish wouldn't be Goan unless it involves seafood. So we are going to make today, or tonight should I say, a Goan fish curry. So I've got some white fish, perhaps not the best fish that I could have got, okay, and then I've got a whole variety of other ingredients including fresh coconut. I've got a load of chilies, coriander seeds, cumin, turmeric, garlic, tamarind, and so these are all typical of what would go into a Goan fish curry. So, cheers. So for this you're going to want some sort of white fish, okay, preferably nice and chunky. Unfortunately Tesco's let us down, we can't seem to buy chunky fillets. We've only got fairly thin ones, and so the danger is with this could break up, and you don't really want it breaking up. Now one of the traditional fish that you might get in Goa is what we call kingfish, okay, but it could be tuna, it could be shark, it could just be plain any kind of sort of seafood, okay. So generally a Goan dish is sort of fish based, okay, but you could have pork, you could have beef, because remember, although it's India, and obviously some parts are Hindu, where of course they wouldn't have things like beef, they would be more strictly vegetarian or possibly fish. The rest of it is Catholic, and that harks back to the Portuguese. Anyway, what I've done here is I've taken my fish fillets, these are skinless fillets, and I've chopped them up into chunks, as you can see there. A little bit of water there, drain off. And what we're going to do is I'm going to put these chunks back into the bowl, okay, and then we're going to prepare a simple little marinade, and we're going to marinate it for approximately 30 minutes. So let me just put that out of the way. So I'm just going to wash up, okay, over here, and then we'll get the marinade ready. So it doesn't take an overly long time, but obviously if that's going to take 30 minutes, that's 30 minutes gone, and then there's cooking, but the cooking shouldn't take too long. So into that, I've got half a teaspoon of salt, I've got a teaspoon of turmeric, okay, and then the final thing I'm going to want is the juice of a lemon. Okay, so I'm just going to squeeze that into there. It looks a bit funny, the lemon, because I used it earlier today where I just wanted the zest. Okay, so it's not a dodgy lemon, it's just been zested. So get that lemon juice into there, and then that's all it is to marinate. And like I say, we're just going to, in a second, we're going to mix all that up together. Okay, and then that's going to sit, and it can sit on the side if you're going to do it for like 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be put in the fridge, but you can if you prefer. Whoosh, knock that bottle of wine over. So all I'm going to do is I'm not going to put my hands in there to do that because of the turmeric. Okay, so I'm just going to toss that around in there, and then we're just going to, like I say, leave that to sit for about 30 minutes. So it's time now, okay, till then we'll be ready. Well, by then we'll have assembled the curry, and well, sauce and that will go in there. So our next task is to prepare a spice paste. So into me malt and pestle, because I just want to break these up a bit. I've got here, how much is it? 3 teaspoons of coriander seeds, okay, and I've got a teaspoon cumin seeds. And what we're going to do is we're just going to, don't want to bash too hard to start with because then bloody seeds will be pinging out everywhere. Coriander will anyway. We're just going to start to break them down. Okay, we're not trying to make them into powder as such, but we want to break them up a little bit. And then it will go into a blender. Now my spice blender was actually a coffee grinder, and I can't put wet stuff in it, so until I invest in a little mini spice blender that will let me do that, I'm going to shove this in my Nutri Bullet, my Nutri Ninja, sorry, not the bullet. Now, earlier I used a coconut, but I kept the coconut water, and what will go into the final sort of curry, probably more often than not would be just plain water, but it could be coconut milk or whatever. So I'm going to use some of that water, well, I'm going to use that water from the coconut, and if need be we'll top it up with some ordinary water. You could, if you prefer, just get some coconut milk and put that in, but you really just add the liquid part till it's as sort of wet as you want it. So I'm just going to finish that off and transfer it into there, and then we'll move on to the next ingredients in the paste. So next thing we're going to put in there is sort of one large onion, and we just want to sort of roughly chop that, okay, because obviously that will get blitzed in there. Because I didn't have any large onions, I've got 3 smallish ones here, okay. And then our next thing is some garlic. Again, going all over the bloody place. I'm just going to roughly chop that garlic, and that can go in. Now we're going to be putting some chilies in. Now, what we use for this is some traditional Kashmiri dried chilies, but we want to soften them up a little bit because that will help make the paste. So quite often in the past, when I've used Kashmiri Kashmiri chilies, I've kept them dried, and you just sort of grind them all up, and it sort of goes almost powdery. But we want this to be a wet paste, so I've got these soaking in some water, and we actually will keep the water. So if we haven't got enough coconut water from the coconut, we'll add a little bit of that. Okay. The next thing is we've got teaspoon of tamarind extract, tamarind paste. Okay, that will give it a nice sort of fruity, tangy flavour. So in that goes. Lemon in there, get that lemon out of there. What else we got next? Right, we got a teaspoon of turmeric. That's going in, so another lot of turmeric. And then, like I say, we want some fresh coconut. I've got 80 grams of fresh coconut here. Again, just going to chop that up a little bit. Although that Nutri Ninja will just blitz the crap out of everything, couldn't it? And then the final thing is we're going to take those chilies, and all I'm going to do is just take the tops off if they've got the tops on there, because obviously we don't want that bit in there. And that is all your ingredients for the paste. Now, like I say, I'm just going to keep that water back because you might want it. So I'm just going to get the coconut in, clean up a little bit, and then we'll get blitzing that lot. Right, so obviously that's going to be quite a dry paste at the moment, so I'm just going to put about 4 tablespoons of that coconut water in there, and then we're going to put a lid on, straight, and then we're just going to blitz it. And I suspect we'll probably have to add a little bit more of that liquid. So I'm going to add a little bit more liquid, and then I'm going to keep blitzing it until we've got a nice, fairly sort of coarse-ish paste. I suspect probably it's my coconut is jamming it up a little bit. I probably should have made that a little bit. So that's my paste. I ended up having all of that coconut water into there, and what I'm now going to do is we're now going to start cooking the main sort of sauce. So we're going to put about 2 teaspoons, tablespoons, that amount of oil in, okay. And then I'm going to take another onion, which I'm just going to slice up, and what we're going to do is we're then just going to cook this onion. So soften it, we don't want to brown it, okay. But we want to cook it through, soften it up. So get the heat on, okay. Get that heating up. So when that oil's a bit hotter, bloody lot in here, we'll put that onion in. So we're saying about Goan food. Goan food, particularly the Hindu, is quite mild, okay. Generally it's fish or vegetarian, and they use a lot of tamarind. They use jaggery, which I've actually got some jaggery over there. It's a type of sugar. Okay, what else do they use? They use like curry leaves, mustard, asafoetida, that funny thing that stinks, mustard, onion, garlic. We're going to be using tomatoes, sort of. You know me and tomatoes. But the tomatoes were introduced by the Portuguese. So when the Portuguese sort of invaded, if you like, they obviously bought things like chilies and tomatoes. What else did they bring? Pineapple, guava, cashews, those sort of things. So they became part of the staple Goan diet. The Portuguese obviously brought Christianity and Catholicism, and that therefore influenced the dishes, and hence the reason why sort of the Christian side will eat one thing and the Hindus eat another. But anyway, we're going to put that onion in there, and like I say, we're now just going to cook that through until it's all nice and softened. Let me get a wooden spoon, okay, and then we'll have our paste, okay, which is quite thick, but remember we can still water that down as needed. Okay, so all we're going to need now obviously is the fish, possibly that chilli soaking water, some tomato. Now what we'd normally do is blitz up in a blender separately to that 2 tomatoes. I don't need tomato, well, I don't need tomatoes like that, so I'm going to use some passata. I'll eat that, alright, can't see the skins in it. So I've got a good generous 2 tomatoes worth of that, and I've also got a couple of chilies. Now there is a lot of chilli in this Goan dish, but it is very much offset by the fruitiness of the stuff like the tamarind, the sweetness of the onion, and that sort of thing. Okay, so there you go. I have to top myself up. So let's get this cooked through, and then when we're ready to start adding the paste, I'll let you see me tip the paste in because it's so exciting, isn't it? So exciting. So that's my onions nice and soft. So our next thing is we're going to add that spice paste, okay, and we're just going to then cook that through. until it's nice and aromatic. At which point we're going to add our final 2 ingredients and cook them for a little bit before we then put the fish in. Now the fish shouldn't take too long, and what we want to avoid with the fish is it don't all break up. Okay, so I'm just going to stir all that in. I'm staying with a wooden spoon now, like turmeric in there. And we're just going to, like I say, cook that paste through. Oh, and where's my little rubber things? Oh, they're on the other thing, which I've moved into the other room. I have to remember to use my cloth. So we're just going to cook that through. You can see here, you know, quite a nice wet paste, but we may still want to add a little bit more liquid once we get to the stage with the fish. So we obviously don't want to burn this, so we need to keep an eye on it, but we want to cook it through, get them flavours coming out, get them smells coming out. I have to ask my wife to do that because I can't smell it now. And then, like I say, we've got the chilies to go in. I've already topped them, and before we put them in, I'm just going to slice them lengthways, just so that, you know, the chilli flavour will get in there, as it were. And then, if need be, we'll add a little bit more of that soaking water before we put the fish back. So once fish going, like I say, we're just literally cooking it till the fish is cooked. We don't want it going all mushy and flaking up, but I suspect they probably will because it's a fin. So, and actually, I might add a little bit of water to this actually, because it's getting quite dry. A bit like my throat really, but I can remedy that one. Don't need the wife, it's making me eyes sting. So I'm just going to add some of that water because it's got quite thick now, that paste. I'm going to stir that in. I'm also going to add in, like I say, then chilies. So I'm just going to slice down the middle, and I'm going to add in some of that passata, and we're just going to get that all stirred together, and then we'll give it another 5 minutes cooking like that, and then we'll adjust it with any liquid, okay, to get it to be a nice wet sauce before we put the fish in. Making your eyes wonker. Woo! So now you could serve this with rice, just plain rice. You could serve it with a naan. That is certainly potent. Like I say, rice, naan, whatever really. Okay, so like I say, give it about another 5 minutes, and then we'll be ready to add the fish and any extra liquid. So I've added a little bit more water, so we've got a nice soup, if you like. Okay, it's just coming up to the boil. So at this point, we're going to gently add in the fish along with what's left of that liquid in there, the marinade. And then just going to stir that through. Okay, and as soon as that gets back up to the boil, it's probably going to take about 5 minutes. Now remember, these are quite thin fillets, so it's not going to take too long. Okay, if it was big, thick, chunky, you might want it a little bit longer, but like I said, we don't want it breaking up. So I've got some bowls ready, got some spoons to eat with. I'm going to need another beer. About close to eating now. Didn't say I'm almost there now. So here we go. So like I say, we could have this with rice, naan bread or whatever, but we'll just try this like it is. So the sauce, it's got a heat, but it's not as hot as I thought it'd be. But you've got that tang of the tamarind, a little bit from tomato. Let's try a bit of fish. Fish is beginning to break up. Like I said, these weren't best fillets for it. Oh, definitely tangy and fruity. Now you could sprinkle some fresh coriander on top if you wished. But there you go. There's your Goan Fish Curry.